It's lovely to be standing next to the real Mr. Bond and to have joined the Bond family. Thank you.
Samantha Bond, talking to her shortly. Filming has just started on the new James Bond movie. It's called GoldenEye. The film breaks new barriers because there's a new 007 in the shape of Pierce Brosnan, who you saw there, and bikini-clad beauties apparently have been banned. Well, in spite of that, our wannabe Bond girl Amanda Reddington gate-crashed the set in search of stardom.
Today I'm on the set of the new Bond movie, GoldenEye. Now, it's Pierce Brosnan's first role as James Bond. The movie also stars Robbie Coltrane as the Russian mafia boss, and Sean Bean as rogue agent 006, and Samantha Bond as Miss Moneypenny. Now, as usual, you've got all the fantastic, lavish sets, you've got gadgets galore and wonderful exotic locations. But what I'm particularly interested in is the fact that they haven't finished auditioning for that final Bond girl.
I think that all the women in the film are very strong. You know, the Bond girls aren't really Bond girls anymore. They're two highly intelligent women and playing very, very strong parts. And I think that Moneypenny as well is a much stronger, slightly more confident, I think, than we might have seen her before.
He's a sort of comrade of James Bond, 006, Alex Trevelyan. And he accompanies Bond on certain missions, certain dangerous missions. And he's good friend, they're good friends with each other, they're both very self-assured people and they work well together.
Tell us a bit about your character, Robbie.
Well, he's Eton and the Guards, and then Murmansk Academy. No, he's just a sort of modern Russian bandit capitalist, really, buys and sells things, a gangster.
You know, any first day is nerve-wracking. But so far, the report back has been very good.
Just one question.
What?
Apparently they're still looking for a new Bond girl. Apparently they haven't got them all yet. Is that right?
Well, there's a little dark curtain here. Do you want to
Yeah,
try?
OK, fine.
Yes,
thanks.
good
OK,
colour.
here we go.
Bye.
Dear, 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 dear. Well, never do one to do things in half measures. We've got not one, but two Miss Moneypennies with us this morning. The new girl, Samantha Bond, and James' first ever secretary. I'm not going to say the old Miss Moneypenny.
You better not.
The first one ever, Lois. I mean, there it is. It's your Lois Maxwell. Good to see both of you. But it's going to be a big day for you tomorrow. I mean, it's your first day filming on the set.
It's going to be an early day for me tomorrow. I get picked up at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. You nervous?
Yes. Yeah, tomorrow I'll be very frightened.
Yeah.
I was supposed to do it last Friday, so I spent all last week being frightened, and then I got stood down because they weren't ready in time. So it's a second dose of nerves, really.
Now, Lois, when you see those scenes, we're looking behind the scenes there, and those big lavish sets, and all so familiar to you. How many Bond films did you actually star in?
14.
14. That's
Surprisingly enough.
Do you look upon those scenes, or when you see the subsequent movies, do you look at the character with a bit of possessiveness and say, you know, that's my role?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do, but I think Samantha's going to be terrific.
And why is that? Well, what are the characteristics you think that
because
takes?
she's not a blonde. She's sort of a strawberry blonde. She's not a blonde, and she's not a brunette. She's like my little sister.
A lot of flirting, of course, always goes on between Miss Moneypenny and Bond. But she didn't ever get her man, or does she get her man, Samantha, in the future? Or did she, Lois?
I have a theory that if Miss Moneypenny ever got Mr. Bond, then she'd be shot in the next movie. I don't think you'd be allowed to continue that relationship for very long.
Well, in Dr. No, with Terence Young directing, Sean and I and Terence talked about this and gave them a background. And of course they'd been lovers. They'd gone away for a long weekend together. They really appreciated each other's qualities, but he knew that if he allowed himself to fall in love with her, he'd never get his 00, and she knew that he would break his heart if she fell in love with him. So as a result, he goes off on his adventures and meets all these two-dimensional brunettes and blondes, and always comes back to the redhead and the rose-covered cottage before he goes off again.
And the real woman was back
and she's
at
a
the
career
office.
woman, after all.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not for her set of twins and nappies, you know.
Well, what about promotion? I mean, you say she's a career woman. Could you have ever gone further?
Well, I suggested to Cubby Broccoli years ago when Timothy Dalton was becoming the new Bond, that Moneypenny should be M. And if they had taken me up on it, we would have had a jump on MI5 by about 6 years.
You'd have been ahead of your time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was such a wonderful idea. And now, of course, they're using the idea with Judi Dench, who'll do a super job, but I still think that it should have been Moneypenny playing M, if only for the first film.
Yeah.
Because the public would have been so surprised if we'd kept it secret, you know, and nobody knew until the opening night. It would have been just stunningly surprising.
Each of, you look at the cast list there, Samantha, great cast, Sean Bean and Robbie Coltrane and Judi Dench, as you were saying there, Lois. And each of the Bonds have had their own endearing qualities throughout the years. Pierce Brosnan, though, when he walks on that screen, I mean, he looks every part
Doesn't he?
The hero, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's lovely. I think he's a lovely sort of blend of all the best bits of all of them. You know, he's got all the sex of Sean and
the dapperness and suaveness of
and all the
Roger
humour's
Moore,
there in the script as well. I mean, it's a lovely
It's nice
script.
that it's come about for Pierce Brosnan as well, because, I mean, the part was supposed to have been sold, the theory goes, or the legend goes, some 8 years ago or so.
Apparently, yeah, he wasn't released from something to do it.
No,
Yes,
he was doing this television series, and they said that they had cancelled it, but he still was under contract.
Yeah.
So then they offered him the Bond part, and then the American producers of the television series said, no, 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 we're going to make some more of the series. They only made about 8 or something.
Yeah,
and
Remington
meanwhile,
Steele, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Remington Steele.
That's right.
So it was unfair. I want to say something to you.
Please
you
do.
have a lot of Bond qualities.
Really?
When Samantha said, when Samantha said that,
No, go on,
what's
please.
his- you have a little bit of Roger Moore in you, and the sex
I
of
can
Sean
And the Irish
Connery, and the eyebrows of
See,
Timothy
they don't
Dalton.
appreciate me here.
And
This
the
is
mouth of George Lazenby, so I don't know why.
But
Maybe he'll be the 5th.
Well, I wasn't available. I was contractually tied to GMTV, so they gave it to Pierce this time, as it turned out. Lois, God
I know
bless
a lot
you.
of women who are in love with you, man.
Lois made the role hers for 14 of those films. Samantha, is it here today, gone tomorrow for you, or do you want to make a career?
I think that's
of it?
in the hands of the producers and United Artists. I'd love to think that I get to do it a few times, yeah. I would love to do that.
Well, I have to say, you have both shaken and stirred me this morning, both of you. Thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure. Back to you, Joe.
Oh dear, what a smooth